Who was that for?
The bus driver, I tried to trick him into eating paper. No ticket to Chick-fil-A.
There's an old saying that goes, you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. And I wish someone had told me that before I started my career, because I would have cracked a lot more eggs. Not because I love omelets, I just want the freedom and the time to make one whenever I want to.
I had a long list of things that I thought I would enjoy the most once I owned my time. But for me, a hot breakfast was always the bar. All I wanted out of life was coffee at home instead of some metal travel mug. I wanted breakfast at the table instead of my cubicle. And I wanted food that wasn't portable, food that didn't fit in some wrapper or require you to eat it on the go. You know, I'm not really a morning person, so for me, having a hot breakfast at home was just a sign that I made it. It just means that I can start my day at a pace that works for me. And we don't have one every day, but the point is, we can when we want to.
And today is one of those days. I'm making shakshuka, which is eggs poached in spicy tomato sauce and is usually served with bread for dipping. Its literal translation is all mixed up, which kind of describes our lives right now. It's the perfect meal to reflect on where we are, where we've been, and if there's anything we would have done differently if we had the chance to do it all over again.
Gosh.
It's been a while since we've been at the table. I mean, at least with the cameras on. Like,
Yeah.
we obviously are at this table every day.
What was that? Was that 2021?
You know, I lost a year with COVID. Like, I don't know what year that was. Had to be 21, because it was before the book.
Yeah, and the book was 2020. Well, really the book.
The book started in 2020.
I'm about to say the process for the book started in 2020.
Yeah.
Literally March of 2020. We were coming
Yeah.
home from New York from signing the deal.
Yeah.
And
Signing the deal for a totally different book, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, signed the deal for a totally different book along the same lines. But then the world changed.
Yeah.
And we decided that the message that we wanted to go put forward was the one that we did.
Which was interesting because we were trying to, you know, there's this 3-year gap between writing the book and then when the book actually hits shelves, is in stores, is available to be purchased.
Yeah, you gotta be a time traveler.
And you've got to be comfortable
teller.
making a bit of a bet around
Yeah.
what the world is going to look like. And obviously, you know, I guess that's a bit of a silver lining with the pandemic, because we at least knew, if nothing else, it was a moment where we all had a moment to pause and reflect on where we've been. And obviously work and money played a bigger part than I ever could have even imagined in 2020.
Yeah. The book came out in 2022.
Yeah.
So when did we film season 2? 2021?
We shot season 2 the summer of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. When things had just started to open up
back
a little
up.
bit more.
Yeah, we started
and
traveling.
we were still kind of rolling the dice. Yeah, so we traveled for 2021 for season 2.
Yeah.
And then the book tour was 2022, summer 2022. So we started here in Atlanta. We went to Philly, I think. Then I'm trying to go in order. Then I know it was Dallas, then DC.
Yep.
Raleigh, North Carolina, and then we finished in Richmond, Virginia.
Yep.
I know we spent a little bit of time in Charlotte. I could kind of add that. That was more like a special event while we were already traveling, but we took advantage of that while we were in North Carolina.
So you're just gonna skip over the book release. Go straight to the book tour.
Well, then there was also that, like being in New York.
New York, yeah. It was
cool.
We've been on the road. It's nice to be back at home. Like, it's nice to kind of bring the show back where it started. Like, just at the table, 2 people having a conversation. Like, I think that's needed.
So what have you noticed, like, I'm gonna ask you the question that people normally ask us, but I'm asking you specifically because you would normally answer on behalf of both of us. But what specifically have you noticed in terms of just responses, in terms of how people have reacted since the book has been released?
It's interesting because when the book was released, I think people understood the message, but were mostly happy for us. Like the shares, the excitement. I don't know if it was coming from a place of like experience or even like an emotional spot. It was just like, those are my friends.
Yeah.
They telling the truth. This is real.
I'm proud of them for
I'm proud of them,
dice.
and I'm proud of them for saying it.
Yeah.
But now, a lot of my friends are encountering the things that we talked about in the book.
Yeah.
They're experiencing the heartbreak of an employer that they were loyal to that wasn't loyal back.
Yeah.
They're experiencing the disappointment of just being stagnant in their careers, or just they're tired. Like they're tired of waking up and doing the same thing every single day. And I don't know if it was like the pandemic accelerated it. I don't know what the catalyst was. It could just be age. Like there's something that happens when you're about to turn 40 that you just get tired of doing certain things. It feels like a milestone where you should be able to take control, greater control of your life and the things that you don't like doing. And so now when I hang out with my friends and they're complaining about some of the things that we've taught for the last couple of years, it's just a reminder, like, I don't know if you made it to the chapter yet, but there is a solution. Like, you have to take greater control of your finances if you feel like you want to get out of this. Otherwise, you're just going to get into another situation where it's the same thing, maybe with a bigger paycheck, but like, it's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yeah. Well, and it's a combination of things. I think there's the embarrassment that a lot of people feel because I think they feel like, or they wish they'd never believed it all. I wish I'd never ever thought for a second that I was different, or that the company that I worked for was different, or that the moment that we were in was different from, let's say, struggles that we've had in the past. I think everybody has this desire to feel some sense of optimism. Yeah. And I think people feel like, no pun intended, but like there's like egg on their face a little bit because it's like, wow, I could have never imagined that my company, my organization, my industry, whatever it is, would say one thing and then completely do another.
I don't know if my friends are at the embarrassment part. And I'm not just talking about like my direct friends, even just my peer group. Yeah. I think they're still at the, I must have done something wrong. And so they're trying to change themselves. They're trying to go back and get another degree, get a certification, go to a executive MBA program, change their hair, change their LinkedIn presence. And it's like, sure, those things help, right?
Run harder.
Right, those things, they don't necessarily hurt, but they also don't work. Like, the game is the game. It's just gonna lead you to another corner, right? You're like a rat on a rope. Like, it ain't nowhere to go except to let go.
Well, that's one of my favorite quotes, right?
What? Rat on the rope?
No.
Oh. I was like, I heard that from somebody from Birmingham. I know you didn't know rat on the rope.
I think it was Lily Tomlin who said the problem with the rat race is that even if you win, you're still a rat.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part.
Because I don't know, like, do you think there's been a difference between how men have responded in this moment versus how women have? because I feel like everyone is responding, and there definitely seems like there's like gender wars going on, and I'm not trying to contribute to that. But it does feel like obviously as we think about money, I feel like if there's one thing men over the last couple of years have been focused on, maybe over-focused, obsessed over, has been money. I've seen more people, more men especially, doubling down, focusing on things. So unfortunately, they are being led in ways that I think are riskier than are probably necessary, which I think is a bit of a reaction or an overreaction to what feels like this huge sense of urgency. Like, I gotta win big, I ain't got time for interest to compound, I need to make up for the last 15 years, therefore I'm gonna explore these things because I heard you can 10x your money overnight. And I think to a certain extent women have gotten caught up in that as well. We've certainly seen this huge boom in women entrepreneurs and wanting to make big things happen there, but I don't see nearly as many women. It just seems like there are like two different responses to the same situation, but in like in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a new version of hustling. Like, there's definitely women who are hustling right now and about their bag, and it's not necessarily a form of like, it's not a sustainable choice. It's just a matter of, I need money now, and you can do it a number of ways, right? I think that's the same with men. Like, I think the financial side of it is similar. The more like I guess the mental or emotional side is a little different. Like, a lot of my friends just feel like there's something wrong with them, and I think the problem with that is when you think something is wrong with you, you make healing your main habit and hobby.
You mean like they don't think they're good enough? Or
they would never say that, but that's how it reads. That's how it manifests, where it's constant healing, self-care, recovery, rejuvenation. It's the primary thing that they spend their time and their money on, but it implies that something is broken versus this is just life and it needs to be managed. Like, you don't have to carve out all of this time and therapy and self-reflection.
Or even like the issue isn't you, like the issue is that the system and that the odds are stacked against you.
Correct.
So it's not that you're not strong enough. You're not supposed to be able to carry what you're carrying and climb and excel at the same time.
Exactly. And unfortunately, like, you know, I'm very pro self-improvement, self-reflection, but I'm pro like the free kind, like meditation, mindfulness, journaling, you know, just like, not necessarily that I would never pay for it. I'm not anti-therapy or anything like that, anti-specialized help, but like, it has just become such a huge part of their lives, and it has almost become a personality. And it requires so much effort to keep up with this high standard of healing, like constantly trying to achieve this level of nirvana, that they don't have room for anything else. So the actual habits and routines and focus that you need to get out of the system that is making you feel broken, they don't have time for that. Like, they don't have any room to learn about investing or to recalibrate their budget so that investing is the primary thing versus, you know, more this, that, and the other thing. So it's interesting, but with men, I see it. It's not called healing or self-care, it's called productivity and optimization. Like, they are very much on some, like, I have this rigid schedule. I wake up at 5 a.m., I do a cold plunge, and then I head to the gym, then I drink my protein, then my green. It's another version of it, but it still costs money, it still costs time, it still costs effort and energy, and it's still very rigid. Like, there's no room for any sort of, like, feedback.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder though why, for some people, money always seems to be like the last thing that people want to focus on the path to fulfillment, right? Or happiness, whatever it is. Like, to your point, it seems easier for people to wake up and focus on hitting the gym and self-care and being kinder to themselves and those things, but it almost seems to be like this huge mental hurdle, this emotional hurdle that people have to get over to realize, like, listen, you're actually full on prayers, you're in great shape, you've got a great community. Like, what you don't understand is how to navigate the financial world, you know what I mean? And how to position yourself in a way to ensure that you can still continue to do these things without it applying financial stress in your life, which will ultimately derail you because of the system that we work within.
You know, I empathize with the hesitation because when I first started investing, I only knew about the 401k through work. And I only knew that, like, that's for retirement. You can't really touch it. If you try to access it early, there's all these penalties. And then there's like all these people telling you, like, don't touch it for any circumstances. And that's what I thought of as investing. I thought my money was gonna be locked away in a box for 45 years. And there's nothing, that wasn't exciting to me. Like, who gets excited about looking at something for 45 years that you can't touch? You don't even know if you're gonna be here. Like, especially in today's uncertain world, like, you just don't know. Part of the reason why people are hesitant is because they're just not aware of all of the different types of investing, the different forms, how liquid it can be, how illiquid, how you can, you know, actually use the money to support your life along the way before retirement. That is still like a massive gap among millennials, at least. I think Gen Z and like the younger kids, not kids, but you know, younger folks, they get it. They're already invested, they're already making it work. Like,
well, I think they get it because they actually see examples of our generation, people who've done it, right? What millennials in many cases are missing are role models. Like, their role models were people who model to them, go to school, get a good job, and stay there for as long as you can. And so they don't have nearly as many people that they can look to, that they can refer to and say, I recognize what else is possible for me because I know people or can relate to other people who've done it. The absence of having those role models, I think, is what makes those kinds of decisions seem so scary. And Gen Z has the advantage of seeing the previous generation, millennials, Gen Y, actually doing some of those things to a certain extent, and then being able to say, all right, well, I know it's an option and it may or may not be for me, but I at least know it is possible. And I don't think our generation has that.
Like, I don't know, some mornings like this where we have like this delicious breakfast and it's beautiful outside, I'm so grateful. Like, you ever think about who you would be if we hadn't left?
I think I used to, but not recently. What about you?
I don't. I do struggle with whether or not we'd be better off, right? Like, there's this hindsight bias.
Well, define better off.
Right, which is where I get in my head because I'm like, it depends on what metric. I don't know that I would be better off financially. I don't think I would, but I certainly wouldn't be better off in relation to my son, in relation to my, you know, marriage, like my health,
my self-confidence,
my sleep. I sleep really well now. And so it really, you know, it's very easy to get into these mental battles where it's just like, dang, did I make the right decision? Like, how do I know if I'm gonna love this thing? But at the end of the day, like, it's still a bias. Whatever you decide, when you're looking back, you'll figure out a way to make it make sense for you.
I look at it from a standpoint of regret, right? Like, there were things that, like, I think you live with regret throughout your life. When I was traditionally employed, I had a lot of regret. Like, I, for sure, would think about some of the things that I wish I could do, or that I wish I had the freedom to do, the skills that I wish that I could develop, the job that I wish I could get. Lots of regrets about decisions that I made. And now that life is behind me, I still recognize that regret exists as an idea, but it's not something that haunts me, right? It's not something that I let compound inside of me or fester inside of me like a tumor,
right?
Until the point it just gets uncomfortable and then I'm forced to make some kind of rash decision. I don't think about regret that way. It's more so that something that I know exists, and I more so see it in other people, and I help them understand what it looks like to be on the other side, to help guide them towards their own level of comfort with whatever decisions that still live within them. But I am not haunted by regrets, like at all at this point in my life. And so I don't I certainly don't regret leaving. I don't regret any of the experiences, even the bad ones that we've had, as entrepreneurs. But
I think my version of that then is permission. I think if I had stayed, I would still be a person that is looking for permission, because you needed it. Like, I needed it at the time. If I wanted to take time off, I needed permission.
Yeah.
If I wanted to express myself freely, I needed permission. I needed to send a calendar invite, and that person needed to accept it, and they needed to be okay with whatever agenda I had for that time together.
Right.
If I wanted to grieve, I needed permission. Like, there was nothing I could do for my life that didn't require somebody else giving me permission. And when you do that for 20 years, like, it creates a habit. And that was the hardest thing to unlearn when I became self-employed and when I transitioned out of the workplace, is that there is an entire permissionless economy out here. People are getting paid because they're not asking for permission. They're just expressing themselves freely. You do not need my permission to start a blog, to post on LinkedIn, to create a video, to start a podcast. You don't need anybody's permission.
To switch something up, to stop doing something because you don't feel like it's working, to start something else because you feel like there's an opportunity and you want to be able to take advantage of it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and very similar to what you're saying about regret, when I meet different people, whether it's through the book tour or just through our travels, a lot of them don't recognize that they're waiting on permission that isn't gonna come.
Yeah.
All of the hesitation is you waiting on someone to say, yeah, it's okay. Even the question, is it too late for me? You're asking me for permission to start. You're asking me to be omnipotent and determine your lifespan and say, like, no, according to my calculations, you have another 40 years in the tank. So, like, yeah, go ahead, it's not too late. That habit is very, very expensive because the permission never comes. There's not some golden slip from the universe that tells you, like, now's the time. It truly is a decision that you have to work up to. And it doesn't have to be a 3-year mission. Like, you can really decide that I'm going to do a version of this today. I'm gonna start small. And then tomorrow I'm gonna go a little bit bigger than that. And then the next day, if I need a break, fine, but I pick up the day after.
Yeah.
It's just a decision that you make, and it's a form of building agency. And I think that is going to be a skill that you need in this country going forward, because no one's coming to save you.
Yeah. All right, you wanna go for a walk?
Yes.
All right.
Let's go for a walk.
Let's do it.
You gonna do these dishes first, though?
No, you got it.
When I got that fresh cut, new outfit, 8-town fitted, got it bent to the same side. I'm leaning in the coupe, leaning in the coupe with. Clicked up with the squad, have you seen us? Listen to the music, pay attention to the genius. I took